whoever is perceived to be the toughest is. Whoever is perceived to be the best is. The competitive architecture is not in place, aside from the Olympic Games, for anybody to ever be crowned the best in boxing. It simply does not exist. If you can get your name out there and you can get more interviews and more headlines than the guy standing next to you, you will go down as a better fighter than the guy standing next to you. I don't know that that is untrue in other sports, but other sports do at least have a competitive architecture. Even the NFL or the NBA. I'll always hear the debates on Jordan versus LeBron. And I'll hear them at a distance and I'll never engage them because I've never watched a basketball game, but I certainly know what it is. I'm certainly aware of those two guys. I don't know how many championships either one of them has. I just think it would be interesting for you guys to find out that other guys have just as many. It's not, let's say, Michael Jordan, I think, has 6 rings. For some reason, that number comes to mind. Let's say I'm right and he has 6, so do a bunch of other guys. And that would likely stun you to hear. My uncle has 3. I don't know if any of you guys could tell me my uncle's name. A friend of mine I went to college with in the NFL has 3. But his name will never come up in the discussions as the greatest ever because he didn't get the most headlines. I got a friend, Stephen Neal. There's his name. 3 Super Bowl titles, 4 world championships in all. From 2 different sports. 4 world championships in 2 different sports, and you guys haven't heard the name. He has the paper to go down as one of the greatest athletes of all time. But he failed to make the headlines, and he failed to build that perception, and that perception is the reality. The guy who can get Nike the fastest is the better player, perception-wise. But he will have media, and he will have billboards, and he will have other opportunities outside of the sport for his face to be seen. But he will be perceived to be the better player. And it does strike me when Floyd was getting ready to fight Conor, and boxing was completely puckered up and worried that the greatest that they had ever produced was not going to be able to deliver against an amateur who legally and precedent-wise of licensing should not have even been given the opportunity to try. They were that disparaging and that different. And boxing began to create the narrative that Floyd was too old. He had never lost. He had all sorts of championships, amateur championships, medals from the Olympic Games, never lost. But they were so worried that they were going to be exposed by an amateur that should not have even been given the license, that they began to create the narrative of how old Floyd was and those old legs, and if this was only Floyd 5 years ago. I will just point that out to you because it will be very interesting if we hear that same narrative as he gets ready to fight Pacquiao. Does the same dialogue exist about how old he is and how old those legs are? It seems to be something that never goes away. And I don't know that I offer you to that it should. Whenever you have those age-old narratives that just keep resurfacing themselves with no fact and no reality and no proof. Who amongst you was to prove that Floyd's legs were any worse? I kept hearing about his legs. What are you guys clocking him on a 2-mile run? What about his 3-mile run? What about his 5K run? Are any of them less now than they used to be? Did you see him in the weight room squatting? Did he squat less now than he used to squat? What was it you were basing the fact that his legs were based on what? Did you see him in a fight where it looked as though his legs were not moving and carrying his body around the same? He's at the same weight class. I mean, a lot can be made when a guy gains some weight. A lot can be made of that. That's just logic, that he's going to be a little bit slower. What was it about Floyd and the narrative of his legs that had any kind of validity? But I will see this kind of talk all the time. And when you have something like that and you're a promoter and a storyteller, you might as well grab it and just keep going with it. I mean, it's been around from the beginning of time. When it comes to an ass-whipping contest, whoever the bigger guy is has an advantage. No matter how many times they put 2 guys in a ring or a cage with cameras around and a building full of people, and we watch the smaller guy be faster and have better endurance and beat the bigger guy, you can never get around the storyline of Junior got his ass kicked, but it's okay because the kid was bigger. You will never get around the storyline of Junior got his ass kicked, but it's okay, the kid was older. But at some point, there becomes a tipping point where the younger guy is then given the advantage for reasons unknown, for reasons that nobody has yet to explain to us. As recently as Saturday, people thought that Triple G beat Canelo. There's a 12-year age difference favoring Canelo. And whether you thought Triple G won or not, 1 year ago, those same two guys fought, and Triple G did beat him, though the judges officially sorted a draw. I bring that up to you not as my overwhelming argument to my case, just a recent example, the most recent example I could possibly think of because it just happened. So what happened to that age advantage? And I looked at it. It was they got a 10-year age difference, 8-year age difference, 10 years, whatever the hell they were. It's a whole bunch of time. Oh, man, when I was a senior in high school, there wasn't a guy a decade younger than me I had to think about twice. And nobody would have argued with me. But at some point, there becomes this tipping point where all of a sudden the world belongs to the younger guy. Kind of going, how come nobody told Daniel Cormier about that? And where are your examples? Or are you just talking about yourself? Were you better when you were younger? Or are you lying to yourself and you weren't very damn good then either?